Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. In this video, I want to talk about this comet again. This is known as Comet E3. That's not the full name, but for short, it's E3. We talked about this recently in reference to the sign of the Son of Man. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that this is the sign of the Son of Man at all, okay? But one reason why we're looking at this is because of what Joseph Smith said about when the sign of the Son of Man appears, what it's going to look like, and what people are going to think that it is. And one of those things is a comet. So, anytime there's a comet that is going to pass by Earth that's visible, we might want to just be aware of it because it may not be a comet this time. It may be the sign of the Son of Man, Christ coming. Okay. I know that some of you are going to be going to scoff at that because it's like, oh, too many things have to happen first, and that's fine. Maybe this video is not for you, but it may still be instructive for the future, a good reference for future events. Okay, if it doesn't happen now. So this comet, then this is an actual image of it, by the way. This is what it actually looks like. You can see the long tail there, which is typical of a comet. Okay, so this is from Gizmodo. Brace yourself for the E3 comet's closest approach to Earth. This is upcoming. Okay. The comet was spotted in March when it was within Jupiter's orbit. Yes, I have the exact date for that actually. It was the 2nd of March. And I had this realization. Okay, let's just play out this scenario. And yes, it's speculation, but we're not holding to it. We're just considering the possibility, which is fine. So, the 2nd of March, that's when it was discovered, right? And the interesting thing about this comet is based on its trajectory and the calculations that they use, they estimate that its orbit is a 50,000 year orbit. So that's another way of saying this is a once in a lifetime event. And this does happen. It's not like unheard of, but this is a once in a lifetime event. And you have to wonder, you know, in the case of this, could they have that calculation because it's not a comet at all? The way that it's moving and heading toward Earth, um, maybe it's not a comet and it doesn't have an orbit. But if you were tracking its speed and its direction and you plug those numbers in, then you would come up with that estimate of its orbit, right? So that's why I kind of take notice of this. But an interesting thing that I realized is that it happened early in 2022. Okay. In fact, it happened exactly 1 month before General Conference. Okay. So you can see here, April 3rd, President Nelson announces his 100th temple. Well, that was on Sunday. The first day of General Conference was April 2nd. Okay, for the April General Conference of 2022. So this was discovered exactly 1 month before the next General Conference. Now, this General Conference, I'm not going to go over it again and again and again, but there were so many things that happened during that conference, and it ended in such a incredible way, especially with President Nelson's last sentence, the last citation that he made from the scriptures that had to do with the second coming and receiving the Lord and being his people. There was so much that happened at that conference that I actually did a video called "Was This the Last General Conference Before the Second Coming?" And let me pull it up here. Last General Conference. This right here. So you can check this out. I'll put this in the description below. There's also, let's see, can I just, you can also go to my live stream. Excuse me, you can go to my live streams because what I've been doing since I started this channel is after every session of General Conference, I'll do a live stream. And so I did that. I did it for for each conference. Okay, so where is it? It wasn't this one. Anyway, I'll find it, or you can look for it here. Okay, this is May, so it's even before that. Yeah, it's right here. It's like at the bottom here. This is when I was still filming out of my bedroom, the old bedroom. We switched bedrooms to a bigger one. Okay, so anyway, interesting things happened and were said during this conference. So um, there was a lot of Second Coming referencing. There was the 100th temple announced by President Nelson by himself. There were all the 17s associated with President Nelson. This is when he gave his 17-year talk, where there were two talks 17 years apart that are basically the same. They share the same poem, and he happened to share it this time, 17 years later after he gave it the first time. So that's interesting. Now, think about this scenario. The prophet is going to recognize the sign of the Son of Man. How do we know that? Well, that's where we start reading some of these quotations here, or some of these excerpts from these talks and stuff. Okay, so teachings of the prophet Joseph Smith. I'm just going to read what I have that's relevant to this video. Then will appear one grand sign of the Son of Man in heaven. But what will the world do? They will say it is a planet, a comet, etc. But the Son of Man will come as the sign of the coming of the Son of Man, which will be as the light of the morning cometh out of the east. Okay, and this was said interestingly enough on April 6th, and it was in 1843. Okay, and then there's another one also in Teachings of the Prophet Joseph Smith, under its own section called The Sign of the Son of Man. Sir, among the many things of the times and other strange things which are continually agitating the minds of men, I notice a small speculation in the Chicago Express upon the certificate of one Hiram Redding of Ogle County, Illinois, stating that he has seen the sign of the Son of Man as foretold in the 24th chapter of Matthew. The slanderous allusion of a Seraglio, like the Grand Turk, which the editor applies to me, he may take to himself, for, quote, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh, end quote. Every honest man who has visited the city of Nauvoo since it existed can bear record of better things and place me in the front ranks of those who are known to do good for the sake of goodness, and show all liars, hypocrites, and abominable creatures that while vice sinks them down to darkness and woe, virtue exalts me and the saints to light and immortality. The editor, as well as some others, quote, thinks that Joe Smith has his match at last, end quote, because Mr. Redding thinks that he has seen the sign of the Son of Man. But I shall use my right and declare that, notwithstanding Mr. Redding may have seen a wonderful appearance in the clouds one morning about sunrise, which is nothing very uncommon in the winter season, he has not seen the sign of the Son of Man, as foretold by Jesus. Neither has any man, nor will any man, until after the sun shall be darkened and the moon, excuse me, bathed in blood. For the Lord hath not shown me any such sign, and as the prophet saith, so it must be. Surely the Lord will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets. Now, what's interesting about this is that the footnote here, number 7, takes you down here, which includes Joel chapter 2, verse 31. And you know what's interesting about that? I've already brought this up many times on the channel, but let's go to the church website, General Conference. We got to go to 2005. Dang it. No, I'm going to have to refer to this. Okay, let's go down here on my timeline. Let's go back in time to 2005. President Hinckley. So this is the October General Conference. The name of the talk is If Ye Are Prepared, Ye Shall Not Fear. Okay, so 2005, October. If ye... There it is. Build. The heck? Give me a second. Okay. What? I might have the wrong reference here. Okay, let's just go to the scripture citation index, I guess. Let's go to Gordon B. Hinckley. Type it in. Hinckley fulfilled. Oh, 2001. My bad. Okay. So he says here, the vision of Joel has been fulfilled, wherein he declared, and it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions, and also upon the servants and upon the handmaids in those days will I pour out my spirit. And I will shew wonders in the heavens, and in the earth blood and fire, and in the earth blood and fire and pillars of smoke. Keep in mind, this is just a month after 9/11 happened. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and terrible day of the Lord come. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be delivered in Mount Zion, and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance, as the Lord hath said, and in the remnant whom the Lord shall call. So President Hinckley, a prophet, declares that this has been fulfilled. And when you read Joseph Smith history, Moroni actually reads this scripture to Joseph Smith and says that it has not been fulfilled yet. But as of October, General Conference 2001, President Hinckley says that that's been fulfilled. So going back here, okay, so after the sun shall have been darkened and the moon bathed in blood, which has happened, for the Lord hath not shown me any such sign. So that's when the sign of the Son of Man will appear. We're past this point, at least, of the Joel prophecy. Okay. Now, let's read just one more thing. This is from Millennial Messiah, Bruce R. McConkie. Okay, then the prophet quoted the famous statement from Amos, and he's referring to what we just read. Surely the Lord God will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets. Amos 3:7, indicating that when the sign is given, the Lord's servants, the prophets, including all the faithful saints, will know it for what it is, and thus be made aware that the long expected day has arrived. Okay, so at this point, do all the faithful saints recognize this comet? No. It would probably have to be like visible, and then those that are watching, those that are in tune with these things, would probably be like, "Oh, that might be it. That's probably it." In fact, we would probably feel the spirit. Maybe the spirit would be testifying to us that that's it. So, okay, so let's go back here. Okay, so with that in mind, that the prophet's going to know. Okay, this comet was discovered exactly 1 month before April General Conference. Okay? And then later on in October, we have October General Conference where more incredible things happen. The most incredible of which, in my mind, is when President Nelson called on us to be the people of the second coming. Also, Elder Bednar told us what to do in order to be able to attend the marriage feast. And I'm assuming that the marriage feast is either Adam on Yaman and or being caught up the living being caught up along with the dead who will be resurrected and being caught up into the cloud to meet with Christ. So a lot of incredible things happened in this general conference as well. These two general conferences really stand out. Okay. I would say these two conferences, along with the April 2020 General Conference, those are like the three most incredible conferences that I've ever experienced, in my opinion. So then we had a Christmas devotional. Let's see, I don't think I have that on here. But anyway, we had a Christmas devotional where, again, incredible things were said. The focus of it seemed to be who are the people that are going to know? Who are the people that back when Christ came the first time, who were the ones that were given the message? And the answer was the very holy, the very humble, and the very wise. Okay. And the focus almost seemed to be the fact that there were angels that were appearing to people, letting them know what was about to happen, and how nowadays, us, before the second coming, how we can qualify, I guess, for similar experiences. So it was a very unusual and very interesting Christmas devotional. Um, it was really powerful. There was a member of the Tabernacle Choir that contacted me. I did a video about it. His name was Michael. I can't remember his last name, but he was talking about how after it was done, the first presidency, addressed the Tabernacle Choir. Good job. But he noticed that in his 12 years in being in the choir, they've never looked so happy, and they were. When you watch that devotional, they were happy. They were happy. Especially President Eyring. He seemed very giddy. After Elder Anderson spoke, President Oaks and President Nelson like really gave him these hand gestures, like wow, good job, thank you for doing that, and then there was a thumbs up, as though he had delivered just the most incredible talk. You have to go and watch the body language. The way that he ends his talk is joy to the world, the Lord is come. And that's how he ends it. And we know that joy to the world is a second coming song, right? We sing it at Christmas, but it's about the second coming. Okay. And that's how he ends his talk. The Lord is come. So imagine that you're the prophet and you're led to this story here about about this comet that was discovered, and maybe it was revealed to you that no, this one is not a comet. It looks like a comet, yes, it is not a comet, and it is going to be coming. Okay, now we go back to this article. Okay, the comet was spotted in March, and perhaps the prophet knew about it. Well, he would if it was the sign of the Son of Man. I'm sure that he would be aware when it was within Jupiter's orbit. E3 will make its closest approach to the sun on January 12th. So that's 7 days from now. I'm recording this on the 5th of January, and will be nearest to the Earth on February 1st or 2nd. Now, that's assuming, again, that it is in fact a comet, because if it's the sign of the Son of Man, I don't think it'll be going around the sun, because it sounds like what this is saying is that, well, I don't know what direction it's coming from, because it might be like on the opposite side of the sun from us. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, whatever. So based on their calculations, I guess the way that they expect a comet to behave and its trajectory, it'll be the nearest to Earth on February 1st or 2nd. Okay. So again, uh, I don't know. I'm not saying that it is the sign of the Son of Man, but it's the first comet in a while that we'll see that's visible to the naked eye. The last of which was, I think it was that Neowise. Yeah, Comet Neowise in 2020. And look at this. Neowise came right before April General Conference of that year. I didn't even make that connection till just now. So the 27th of March. Let me just look at my calendar. You're not going to be able to see it, so you'll just have to trust me. Let's go back to the year 2020, April. Okay, no, first go to March. It was discovered on the 27th, which was a Friday. So it was almost a week before. It was on a Friday. The next week would have been April 3rd, which would have been the Friday before General Conference started. So that's another interesting proximity to General Conference. Not sure if it's related or not. And like I was just saying, the April 2020 General Conference was it was a special one. It was definitely a special one. So Comet Neowise, and then you have this one discovered before April General Conference 2022, exactly a month before. Um, and then we're going to be seeing this thing in the sky according to their projections February 1st or 2nd. Don't get overly excited. It very well could just be a comet, but the purpose of this channel is to watch for the signs of the times. And because of what we read, if there's a comet coming our direction, we might want to just be aware of the fact that it may not be a comet. And it doesn't matter if they're able to be like, no, look at the picture. See, it has a tail. It has all the hallmarks of a comet. Well, for all we know, that's how it's going to happen. This may be exactly what it looks like. We may not have a full understanding. Again, it's my theory that we do not have a full understanding of how space works and what these planets in our solar system and other celestial bodies actually are and what they're doing. We can look at it with our science and with our instruments, but I don't think it gives us the full picture. We know, for example, that the spirit world is here on Earth. When you die, you go to the spirit world and you're here on Earth. There's an unseen world. We also know that the three Nephites in John, it's interesting because it says in the Book of Mormon that they have to pray to the Father in order to reveal themselves to whoever they want to reveal themselves to. But that means that they're not like always visible. And yet, I don't know if they stay here on Earth the whole time. The scriptures seem to indicate that they'll remain on the Earth until the second coming. But here you have these people that are not dead. They're translated. They've been in a translated state for, almost like 1600, 1700 years, something like that. And they're not visible. And then when we think about what Brigham Young said, if I go to my topics A through Z tab, I've been adding on to this, by the way. I have one for space where he says, who can tell us, here, let me pop it out. Who can tell us of the inhabitants of this little planet that shines of an evening called the moon? And then later he says, so it is with regard to the inhabitants of the sun. Do you think it is inhabited? I rather think it is. Do you think there is any life there? No question of it. It was not made in vain. Now, the secular point of view wants to be like, or doubters, they want to be like, well, that was a popular opinion back then that there was life on the moon, but like we've discovered that there's not. And I don't think what he's referring to here is like extraterrestrial life. I think what he may be referring to are people that are translated or living in a different state of progression. So I'm talking about angels. I'm talking about the city of Enoch. Because where's the city of Enoch? It's just in space somewhere? Or would it possibly be on the moon and we can't see it because they're translated? I know that sounds really far out there, but when I think about these planets, I can't help but to think that they serve more of a purpose than simply just being there. I know that they do have some practical purposes as it relates to mankind. For example, Jupiter primarily acts as like because of its large gravity, it acts almost like a vacuum for incoming asteroids and things that could make their way into the inner solar system and potentially be dangerous to us. So it does that. It protects. But um, for one thing, they can be used for signs, but for another thing, there's probably more going on with those things that meet the eye. And that could be the same thing with asteroids and comets. Maybe what we see with our natural eye in our instruments is, oh, it's just a chunk of ice, and that's all that's going on there. The tail is created because the sun. It I can't remember how it goes, but I think the solar winds uh, make it so that like dust and debris from the comet are kind of like ejected in the opposite direction from the sun. Uh, that's my understanding. So, yeah, from a natural point of view, that is what's going on, but that doesn't mean that we see all levels or see what may actually be happening on there. So, and it's perfect because then the doubters can have their doubt, and they'll be none the wiser. So, just things to think about. Okay. With this right here, I do not discredit what he said. Was he talking about extraterrestrial life? He could have been, or was he talking about how there are other places that you may, because like for example, it would make sense that if you've been resurrected, okay, since the time that Christ was resurrected, if you've been resurrected, that means that you've been resurrected to a celestial glory, and maybe your temporary place where you reside is on the sun, you know, on a different plane of existence, a different sphere, a different dimension, a different phase, whatever you want to call it, you know. Um, gosh, okay, this is like really getting crazy. Okay, so um, when it comes to this comet, okay, there may be more going on here than what we are able to detect through normal scientific means. That's all I'm saying. Um, okay. I think that's all. Well, okay. Was there more that I was going to read from here? Yes. Okay. So February 1st or 2nd, according to their projections, people in the northern hemisphere could be able to view it starting in late January, and it'll become visible in the southern hemisphere in early February, NASA stated. According to the British Astronomical Association, the comet, quote, has recently grown a long and highly structured ion tail, end quote. The association also points out that the comet may be observed in the next couple of weeks as the moon will not be as bright in the night sky. Jessica Lee, an astronomer with the Royal Observatory Greenwich, told Newsweek that the comet may not return to Earth for another 50,000 years due to its long orbit. Quote, some predictions suggest that the orbit of this comet is so eccentric, it's no longer in an orbit. So it's not going to return at all and will just keep going, end quote. So they don't even know really if it is orbiting, right? or it was on an orbit, but because it's gotten so extreme, maybe it's going to just like slingshot around and go somewhere else. Anyway, but if the comet does return, it would be sometime around the year, sometime around the year. Make sure to make plans for this. 52,023. um, so it's going to be a while. In other words, way too late for you and me. Well, I don't know. I'm an immortal being, okay, and I plan to be resurrected, so I do plan to be around. As a matter of fact, as long as the Earth is still here in this solar system. Okay, so we got this going on. Okay, now I want to show you a couple other things. First, you may have been reading this on the screen because after the part that we read, it talks about um, before our Lord returns, Jerusalem and her temple must be built, which I argue the BYU Jerusalem Center could be a structure that the Lord could turn into a temple when he comes. There's nothing that says that he can't do that. I'm not going to go over that for the millionth time. I have a playlist about the BYU Jerusalem Center. But This is the famous quote where he talks about the Dead Sea being healed. And in my next video, uh, yeah, probably the very next video, I'm going to go over what's been going on with the Dead Sea because it seems like this prophecy is actually starting to be fulfilled. All right, the Dead Sea is actually dying. It's just like the Great Salt Lake. It's shrinking, but there's also very interesting things that are going on with the Dead Sea. So I'll save that for later. So um, now I want to take a look at something that another possibility. Okay, uh, there's a theory right now that there is another planet in our solar system. You know, Planet X. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard of Planet X. It's always been talked about my entire life, and I guess there's been some recent developments with that. So let me read some of what this says, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so this is from NASA. Um, Solar System Exploration, our galactic neighborhood overview. Caltech researchers have found mathematical evidence suggesting there may be a planet X deep in our solar system. This hypothetical Neptune-sized planet orbits our sun in a highly elongated orbit far beyond Pluto. The object, which researchers have nicknamed Planet 9, could have a mass about 10 times that of the Earth and orbit about 20 times farther from the sun on average than Neptune. It may take between 10,000 and 20,000 Earth years to make one full orbit around the sun. The announcement does not mean that there is a new planet in our solar system. The existence of this distant world is only theoretical at this point, and no direct observation of the object nicknamed Planet 9 has been made. The mathematical prediction of a planet could explain the unique orbits of some smaller objects in the. I was meaning to look up how this is pronounced, and I swear I've heard it before. I think it's Kuiper Belt. Kuiper, Kuiper, Kuiper. I'm going to go with Kuiper Belt, a distant region of icy debris that extends far beyond the orbit of Neptune. Astronomers are now searching for the predicted planet. Okay, I think there was something else here. Why do they think it's there? Astronomers studying the Kuiper Belt have noticed some of the dwarf planets and other small icy objects tend to follow orbits that cluster together. By analyzing these orbits, the Caltech team predicted the possibility that a large, previously undiscovered planet may be hiding far beyond Pluto. They estimate the gravity of this potential planet might explain the unusual orbits of those Kuiper objects. And I actually have thought, oh, it's in this article. There's actually like a depiction of what they're talking about. So these are those other objects in the Kuiper belt. Okay. Uh, you can see that they're kind of like clustered together and that they're like really weird. So using their math, they believe that the reason why this may be, instead of like more orderly um, orbits, is because of the influence of Planet 9. You see that right here? And you see how this has a very elliptical orbit? Okay, get to that in just a minute. Okay, what's next? Astronomers, including Badigan and Brown, will begin using the world's most powerful telescopes to search for the object in its predicted orbit. Any object that far away from the sun will be very faint and hard to detect, but astronomers calculate that it should be possible to see it using existing telescopes. Okay, so we'll see if that happens. Why am I looking into this? Well, because you'll remember that it says here um, they will say it is a planet, a comet, etc. So Planet 9 or Planet X, um, there's something interesting that happened in regards to this. It's sometimes called Nibiru, and my understanding is that's a Sumerian word. I think it's a Sumerian god. I can't remember. They talk about it, I think, on on Ancient Aliens on the History Channel. Anyway, Nibiru, the non-existent planet, and this article written by Space.com basically was written to refute a theory that people were having about this planet. It says, linked to the close of the Mayan calendar, a variety of rumors spread regarding ways the world could end back in 2012. This was written February 7th of 2022, so this is a recent article. One popular contender was Nibiru, a supposed planet that some claimed would collide with Earth at the end of that year. But despite the buzz, there's no scientific evidence supporting the alleged planet's existence. And of course, our planet survived 2012 without absorbing a massive impact. Well, and see, things have changed. Things have changed since then. Now there is evidence that there's something out there. Um, there's they infer that there might be something there. So I guess that's changed. Nibiru has been linked to NASA by various bloggers because of okay because of this claim. Because of this claimed connection, space agency officials put out a statement saying that no big planet was coming to destroy the Earth in 2012. What follows below is the true science and history of this supposed rogue planet with reference to a real object, Comet Elenin, that somehow got mixed up in the whole mess. When Comet Elenin appeared in 2011, many were concerned that it was the mysterious planet in disguise, despite the fact that planets and comets appear very different under a telescope. A comet has a gas atmosphere called a coma and a tail, while a planet does not. So that's why they would say that E3 is a comet. I presume because of this glow around it, because it looks like that's like part of its atmosphere. I'm not sure, but it definitely has a tail, right? An ion tail. Okay. Um, that's it from that. And you'll still hear people talk about this. Like there are other Christian YouTube channels that watch for signs of the times, and they'll bring this up from time to time. And I don't know what to think about it, but I never like thought about it in connection with the sign of the Son of Man, because you know they were saying that okay, yeah, we do think that there is a planet out there that has a highly elliptical orbit. Um, Based on their predictions, because I wanted to see what they had to say about its orbit. They say this theoretical planet has many given names: Nibiru, Tycho, etc. But we'll just go with Planet 9. If this planet does exist, it would be traveling many billions of miles beyond that pesky dwarf planet Pluto in a portion of the Kuiper Belt that receives very little sunlight or energy. Like many of the outermost planets, its orbit would be highly elliptical. To what extent? Well, you would take the planet between 7,400 and 18,500 years to complete just one rotation around the sun. For perspective, Pluto has yet to make one full orbit around the sun since its discovery. It's estimated to take 248 years to make one full revolution, and it was officially discovered in 1830. Uh, Shoot, I thought there was a part here that I highlighted that talked about the distance. Well, anyway, okay, I'll just sum it up like this. Um, from what I read, they were talking about the fact that its orbit wouldn't bring it into the inner solar system. But again, that's based on, I mean, they don't even know if the thing exists. They don't know if it's there. And who's to say that they're right? They may be completely wrong. So if there's something out here, the sign of the Son of Man, whatever, because I don't know exactly how Christ is going to come. I don't know if he's going to come on some kind of object or vehicle. And when I say vehicle, I mean just like how it's been described that he's appeared in the Kirtland Temple and he was standing on fine workmanship of gold. I think, you know, why did he have to do that? I don't know, but he did. So maybe he would come on some kind of platform, vehicle, object of some sort, and maybe that thing is all the way out here. So that's another way that this could potentially happen. Is something that they may think is a planet, Planet X, Planet 9, that comes in, and they're like, "Oh, there it is. That's Planet 9," when in reality, it's the sign of the Son of Man. Um, okay, so going back to Comet E3, uh, I looked at the Hebrew calendar, and there's not really anything significant happening at this time that I can tell. Um, I'd have to look into like these Hebrew months. Do they have anything significant? But I feel like that's a little bit too loose. Um, yeah, so nothing that I was really able to see. Now, at some point, I'm going to add more comets to my timeline. The problem is that there's like a million of them. So this is a list of long period comets defined as orbits between 200 and 1,000 years. I just don't know if I'm going to go through this entire list. I don't know. There's a ton of them. This date right here is the last perihelion, which is the closest to the sun when an object gets its closest to the sun in its orbital path. So there's that. There's a bunch of other types of comets too. This is a list of periodic comets that were numbered by the Minor Planet Center. After having been observed on at least 2 occasions, their orbital periods vary from 3.2 to 366 years. As of November 2021, there are 436 numbered comets, most of them being members of the Jupiter family. There are also 31 Enki type comets. Now, Enki, I know that Enki, I'm pretty sure that that's a Sumerian god. Um, so there's 31 of those, 14 Halley type comets, 5 Chiron type comets, and 1 long period comet. Um, about a third of these bodies are also near Earth comets, NECs. In addition, 8 numbered comets are principally classified as minor planets. So that's interesting. A minor planet / comet. 5 main belt comets, 2 centaurs, and 1 Apollo asteroid. My goodness. And display characteristics of both an asteroid and a comet. So that's interesting. Now, when it comes to a long period comet, let's see what the definition of that is. Uh, long period comets have highly eccentric orbits and periods ranging from 200 years to thousands or even millions of years. And it said that there's only one? Because I would think that Comet E3 would fit into this category. Does it say... Okay, let me do a search. Long period. No, not there. Long. No, not there. So it doesn't look like these articles are categorizing it as a long period comet. That's just curious to me because if it was, then that would make it only the second that we know about. And then you have great comets. Okay, what is a great comet? Now these ones might be worth putting down on the timeline. You see, because there's not as many of them. And what's the definition? A great comet is a comet that becomes exceptionally bright. There's no official definition. Often the term is attached to comets such as Halley's Comet, which during certain appearances are bright enough to be noticed by casual observers who are not looking for them and become well known outside the astronomical community. Great comets appear at irregular, unpredictable intervals, on average about once per decade. Although comets are officially named after their discoverers, great comets are sometimes also referred to by the year in which they appeared great, using the formulation, the great comet of ... followed by the year. So when it comes to signs of the times, it's not really much of a sign if no one's aware of it, right? So that's why I think I might put these comets on the timeline, because these are ones that were obviously, they were just, they were great comets. They were obvious. People saw them. And then any other comet that is seen that's not on this list, I'll probably put those on there too, if they're visible to the naked eye. So, it's not really too often. Like I said, as far as I know, the last comet that came around that was naked, or naked comets are flying all over. The last comet that came around that was visible to the naked eye was Comet Neowise, about 1 week before General Conference. And now we have the second one that was discovered exactly 1 month before General Conference, and it's about to make its appearance later this month if you're in the northern hemisphere. Okay, and then again, it'll be the closest to Earth on February 1st or 2nd. So, and then if you're in the southern hemisphere, you should be able to see it in early February. Okay, so I think that's going to be it for this one. I'm kind of on a kick right now of like putting down all these like heavenly signs, signs in the heavens, just because it's interesting. A lot of interesting things are happening. There was a lot that happened in 2022. If you want to look at my timeline, the link for it is in the description below. And on the Second Coming timeline tab, anything that's in this purple color is a sign in the heavens, or a sign that has to do with space, or the Earth, like the rotation of the Earth. There was one day this year, or last year, I guess, where the Earth rotated slower. The slowest or faster. The fastest that it's ever rotated. It was only by like 1 point something milliseconds, but that happened, and no one knows why. Here it is right here. Shortest rotation of the Earth on record, 1.59 milliseconds. That was on the 29th of June, 2022. So, yeah. Okay, all right, that's it. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also, make sure to share this, and I'll talk to you guys later.